Hello, and welcome to I Watched It With My Wife, Documentary Edition. Today we're covering episode 4 of the HBO Max docuseries Q Into the Storm, about the QAnon phenomenon and everything it's all about. So this episode covers uh, free speech, what's right, what's wrong, what's protected by the First Amendment and what isn't. Um, it also covers 8chan, the site that Q normally posts from, being shut down. It also covers some rallies for QTubers and Q supporters. And on top of all that, it also has one of the operators of 8chan basically tried to pin the work of Q on former Breitbart head and former Trump and former member of the Trump administration, Steve Bannon. So Sarah, what do you think of this unusual episode?
First and foremost, I want to say that so it starts off talking about this. I think the point of this episode was more like how much free speech is too much free speech. That was a big theme. There was court cases and hearings versus 8chan on, when does speech become more than speech and that stuff. It starts out with Nazis in the 70s.
Yes, it starts out with the whoever someone in Ohio, I believe it is, trying to form a Nazi party and hold a rally for the Nazi party, and how that all breaks down. It's a wild start, but it sets up what 8chan is experiencing in the digital age, where people are trying to shut them down, and they're arguing that the First Amendment protects their right to post whatever they want without repercussions.
Yes, and so here's the thing. I like free speech is a big deal in our house. I definitely believe in it. I am 100% for it. However, there's consequences. We don't listen to censored music around our kids too often. But if we think a song is too much for them, we just don't play it around them. Um, but I very rarely play the censored version of songs and just things like that. But the big thing with this is it gets into you're seeing videos of people who are at these Q events and who are supporting this conspiracy theory, which is linked to terrorist attacks and other attacks and shootings and all these things. And do they have the right to say the terrible things some of the people are saying on 8chan and even these Q conspiracy theories? And actually Fred says something in the documentary is where do conspiracy theories fall under free speech?
In general, they probably are protected. They should be protected in general, whether you believe them or not. You have a
Even the
right.
flat earth ones.
They're not hurting anybody other than my brain
Unless
cells.
they're trying to push people off the edges.
Yeah. They're hurting my brain cells, but they're not actually hurting anybody. So again, yes, the First Amendment and free speech comes up a lot. Specifically, my job is all about free speech and the First Amendment, freedom of the press specifically, in my main. And this right here is what we're doing is covered under free speech as well and the First Amendment. So it comes down to what they have the right to do, what they don't, because the network that operates 8chan decided to drop them following the I believe it was the Walmart shooting in El Paso.
Yeah,
where
there are
they
people on 8chan celebrating it.
yes, where they decided to drop that, which that creates another thing, because while you have the right to say most things you want under the First Amendment, the First Amendment does not require any network to carry any website at all. So that's the flip side of this argument. is that, yeah, you can say it on these websites and they have every right, the websites have every right to allow you to say it or not allow you to say it. But the network that allows those websites onto the internet has every right to not allow them on there if they don't censor you in the way the networks chooses.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And like, again, when do words become actions, and where is the line? Where do words inspire actions? That's the thing that we need to look at when we're considering, do people have the right to say what they're saying? If their words are inspiring others to go out and cause physical harm, that's not okay. That's just not okay. And I think any reasonable human being would agree with that statement. If your words are inspiration to hurt others, it's just not okay. Um, and there is a lot in this episode. There's also Ron is trying to pin Q on Steve Bannon, as Jeremy mentioned, which
It's the first time in my life I've ever felt bad for Steve Bannon, but
so anyway,
that's the thing, and this is why
and
I
you
never bought this, because some people always said Steve Bannon was Q, and I couldn't buy this. Steve Bannon already operated Breitbart. He had the same forum that Q is, actually a better forum than what Q is posting on to get his message out there. So why would Bannon do something anonymously when he's never been shy about being out there and being out front and saying things? I don't. It never added up the way it was being painted.
well, I didn't think so, because I felt like they were going to try to pin it on Bannon because he is an easy one to pin it on as far as being in Trump's circle.
Yes, he's in Trump's circle. He's outspoken. He is a big supporter of the First Amendment. He's a big free speech advocate. Yes,
But he doesn't believe Democrats drink baby's blood.
as far as I know, no, I
He
don't think
thinks
he
they're
does.
evil, but he doesn't think
And
they
then
drink
the
baby's
big
blood.
thing that came up in there, and how the documentary maker basically determined that, the attempt to out Bannon as Q was a lie, is, when doing his research into Bannon, he described former, all of 3 weeks National Security Advisor Michael Flynn uh, as as a fuck up. Now, part of the Q phenomenon here is that they really love and almost worship Michael Flynn to a weird degree. Um, Flynn, as I said, served 3 weeks. That's all he served as National Security Advisor before he was forced to resign because he lied to federal investigators about contact with Russia in between the 2016 election and inauguration day in January of 2017. He lied to the government about it flat out, and they had plenty of evidence of that. And he was convicted and then tried to change his plea. He eventually got a pardon. It's all confusing, but in the end, there it was Steve Bannon was, after meeting him, was just like, "This guy's an idiot."
Yeah. Well, the early days of, and please know, I'm not trying to delve too much into the political behind this, but the early days of Trump, because this was still what 2000? No, this was in 2019.
This was in
But in the
2019.
beginning of Trump, there was, and even throughout his presidency, there was a lot of people resigning, getting fired, being asked to step down.
There was
There was a
a high
lot.
turnover rate
There was a
in his
lot.
administration, especially compared to other one-term uh, administrations. He had a very high turnover, equal to a lot of two-term administrations, even more than some two-term administrations.
Yeah. Which says something. It does.
It says something. I don't know what exactly it says, but it says something.
It says either you're a bad guy or you're surrounding yourself with bad guys. It's one or the other. Tell me I'm wrong.
I'm staying out of politics.
All right, Jeremy's trying really hard not to get political, but no, but listen, I'm sorry, but if you're surrounded by people who are constantly leaving, or constantly quitting, getting fired. If you're the boss and everybody around you, there's a high turnover rate in your job, everyone's getting fired, everyone keeps quitting, you have little consistency with it, you're probably not a good boss. Let's take politics out of it. Let's talk about in workplaces. Something's not being done right. If everybody around you is getting fired, resigning, something's not right. And it it's so frustrating because it really does seem like whoever Q is, and I'm pretty sure I know who Q is.
Yeah.
But it really seems like whoever Q is very adamant about supporting Trump and people who have lied for him versus people who have done what they were supposed to do or spoken out against Trump.
Yeah. I don't know that Q is we are in agreement on who we think Q is, and you'll find out in the final episode of our
I think I've
reviews
already
here.
said it.
But the person we think is Q in the Q form is very, very much as Sarah said, defending Trump and anyone who, was in his inner circle. Part of me kind of wonders if he's just trolling the world. I think he's just doing it to just do. I think he's found a way to get attention, and he's just getting high off of it.
And it's somebody who would be perceived as that way. But we'll talk about that in the later episode. This episode, again, this is episode 4, and it focuses on free speech, freedom of holding internet, even gatherings and rallies, and where people fall in that. And there's people in this documentary, there are people in this documentary who support QAnon, who are in there like openly supporting with their kids. Which is a whole other thing. But people have the right to believe what they want to believe just as much as people have the right to say what they want to say. But again, there's consequences. If you apply for a job and your employer says, "Excuse me, do you believe the world is flat or round?" and you say, "Oh, the earth is definitely flat." Well, you might not get hired for that job because it's just common knowledge that the earth is round. It's what it is. And you might not get a job because of that. There's consequences to what you say. There's consequences to what you do. Being in a documentary as a Q supporter could probably get you fired from your job right now. Not you specifically, because you're not, but
yeah,
I think it
and
could.
that bothers me as much as I don't like what they stand for. I don't like them getting fired for what they stand for either.
Well, it depends on what they do.
If they do something violent, I agree. But if they're just going to a rally wearing a Q shirt, and they shouldn't lose their jobs for that.
Marjorie Taylor Greene. Should she be allowed to be in office being an open Q supporter?
She was elected, so yes.
You don't think she should be forced to resign?
I think you need to find evidence of something illegal, not just something insane. That's the problem there.
But you don't think insanity is a good enough reason to fire somebody or ask somebody to step down from holding a position of power?
No, this isn't. I shouldn't have used insane there because this is not insanity, and it's it's
delusional.
It's in a clinical sense.
It's delusional.
This is a belief in something different than the mainstream.
No, it's delusional.
I agree, but from the standpoint of should she be in office, we have nothing that could force her to resign.
Except for her wearing a mask in Congress saying Trump won.
Again, that's her opinion. She's entitled to that.
Not an opinion, though.
It's a wrong opinion, but it's an opinion.
Not an opinion.
No, it is an opinion.
It's fiction.
Yeah, but it's an opinion. It is a wrong opinion, but it is an opinion. I don't want her in a position of power, but I can't make the people in her congressional district vote against her. And unless she does something downright illegal, we can't remove her from office. You see that there's the thing that there's plenty of people who are been terrible people, who've been terrible Congress people, who've been terrible senators, who've been terrible presidents, but they didn't break the law and we couldn't remove them from office.
Yes, I agree with that. However, again, she's wearing a mask that says Trump won on the congressional floor, feeding into the fuel of insurrection. And there's still Trump supporters out there. And please know when I say that, I use that term loosely because not everyone who supports Trump is crazy. There are some people who liked Trump who have accepted reality and who are not delusional. But she is standing there on the Congress floor wearing a mask that says Trump won. While she's wearing this mask, a lot of her followers and a lot of Q people are seeing this and supporting this. And how much more fuel is she adding to that fire? Is my question. And should she be held accountable? And I think the answer is yes. I think if you're adding fuel to the fire, I think if you're a preacher in a church or a priest or whatever, or you're in a church and your church teaches hate and you stand up there every week and you say, hate this type of group of people because they're not us. And one of your people in your church goes out and harms somebody of that other group because they are not like you, according to the person who is standing up there telling you this, they should be held just as accountable as the person who committed the crime.
That brings in individual accountability, and then using the church example doesn't really work as well because that also brings up
brainwashing.
No, separation of church and state. You're getting into more constitutional issues there.
Yeah, but she's standing up there.
Yes, she's standing up there with a mask that says Trump won. She is not harming anybody.
Yet.
She is not harming anybody, and you can't directly correlate that the people who did that did it because of her mask. That is the problem with trying to do that there.
This is something we really disagree on because I think that there should be accountability.
I think there should be accountability, but the thing is, having the belief that the election didn't has shady stuff happen and things there is not, it's incorrect. Every bit of evidence says otherwise, but it's not something that should have you removed from office and wearing a mask like that. The bigger issue would be the senators who objected to certifying the results despite all of the evidence to what they were saying. That did more to fuel the fire than a congressman in a different house who did in a different house of Congress who was not voting in that because it was the Senate that certifies it, not the House, wearing a mask that says Trump won. The Senate was far more reliable for any violence that happened than the House was.
But weren't there some of her groupies or?
Yeah, I'm sure there were. But again, I don't think you can point to her wearing that mask and the actions of those people and say they're directly connected.
So can you connect QAnon to the insurrection then?
I don't think you can. I need to see more of the, get through the documentary, but I don't think you actually can. Because QAnon has not told anybody to go out and do something, and you need more direct response to that. A more direct
You haven't
action.
Watched the last episode yet, though, right?
No, I've only seen 5 episodes. We're recording episode 4 right now. Like I said, when I get through it and I see some more of the things, because I don't read QAnon stuff on 8chan, because quite frankly, I don't have time to waste.
8chan is not open anymore. It's not supported.
Yeah, 8chan's not up. But even before I didn't do that, because I don't have time for that. We have 2 kids with autism. I'm very busy. I work. I actually haven't worked 40 hours in a while. I've been working overtime for over a year.
Yeah, and that's a lot of this. Oh God! So this documentary hurts because
it hurts my brain, man.
No, because Jeremy did fall asleep when we first watched it, and I watched almost the entire thing, and he fell asleep. And
And then
So
we
yeah,
watched
so
every
we're
episode
going
twice
back and
now.
rewatching it together, and then recording. And so it's hard for me to sit here and be like just on this episode, but based on what I've seen in this documentary, and then I've also done a lot of reading up on it, like when I'm laying in bed at night, because I'm thinking about this all the time because it's so relevant to things that are currently going on in the world. So this documentary kind of keeps me up at night because I see, at least once a week, I see a video or a Facebook post of somebody or like a TikTok video or something of like a Trump won and we're coming back and that kind of the South will rise again mentality, which I'm sorry, babe, is not necessary. I know you're from the South, but
I've never exactly held that kind of view either, but
well, no, but you know what I'm saying. Like this, it's not over, even though it is over.
yeah, well, one, don't buy my pillow then. Uh
Oh, that guy.
but anyway. Yeah, well, he lost his BBB accreditation a while ago, but anyway, well before we found out he was crazy. But beyond that, yeah, so this has been a wild 4 episodes. This one got us going a lot because free speech is something we're both very adamant about. But at the same time, where do First Amendment protections end and criminal charges begin?
And I think once a person's inspiring somebody to cause harm.
But the problem with that is something innocuous can inspire someone who's crazy to do something.
What about that girl who told her boyfriend to kill himself?
Oh dear God, the Michelle Carter case. I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. She was convicted.
Yep. She told him to do it. He did it.
I'm still shocked they got a conviction. I
No,
am.
she told him to do it.
But at the same time, he had every choice not to do it. That's why I'm shocked that
But
they
if
got a conviction.
somebody's telling you to do something, sometimes you just do it.
Yes, I understand that, but I've she's an evil person. That I think we agree on that.
Yes.
I'm
Oh no, she deserves to be convicted 100%.
I think she
And
deserves to
that's
be convicted. I'm just knowing what I know about the legal system. I'm shocked they got one. That's the other thing is I know what it takes on a legal thing. I know how the legal system works.
yeah, but
That's why I'm shocked they actually got a conviction on
yeah,
her.
but no, if you're telling somebody to kill somebody, if you're telling somebody to hurt somebody, that is where your freedom of speech stops.
Yeah, I agree.
That's not speech anymore. That is inspiring. When you're inspiring
yes, but
harm.
But that is completely different than wearing a mask that says Trump won, because that's not saying storm the Capitol.
No, but it's adding fuel to that fire. It's putting another log on that fire. Or gasoline, depending on.
But again, the mask is innocuous. It's not necessarily meant to do that. You're using the Michelle Carter
Oh,
case.
she didn't even want to wear a mask.
True. Yes, the Michelle Carter instance you're carrying, she directly told the guy to get back in the car filling with carbon monoxide and kill himself. Ugh. So it's not an apples to apples comparison.
That's what we have to figure out as a society, though, is where, I don't know, where do we allow free speech to, where do we draw the line? Where are our freedoms?
Where, like I said, where the First Amendment ends and criminal charges begin. But we'll figure it out from there. But on top of that, we have Sarah's favorite segment.
Snacks with Sarah. Do, 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 do. I don't know, I do something different every week.
Phenomena.
What did I drink? I drank a Cider Boys tonight. The apple cinnamon one that you hate.
Yes, it's the only Cider Boys flavor I don't like. I actually don't hate it. I would drink it if I had to. It's just the least favorite one.
It was yeah. And then oh my god, Doritos. Doritos.
We had 3 different flavors of Doritos.
I like Doritos because, we had the Nacho 3D, the ranch, spicy ranch 3D, and sweet and spicy, and my dip.
Yes.
You want to tell them about my secret dip?
It's delicious. I don't know what you put in it because I was busy editing our other podcast.
So my secret dip is some ranch seasoning, some dill, some onion seasoning, and nacho seasoning, and I mix it all together. And yeah, if you want more information on my dip, you can email me at withmywifepod@gmail.com, because that is where I will actually, maybe I'll put the recipe for Snacks with Sarah when I make something up on our website.
I think that's a good idea.
Maybe I'll have like a Snacks with Sarah spot. What do all three of our listeners think? You guys want to know how I make my snacks?
And you want to recommend other things for us to watch?
Yeah.
You can reach out to us. We are on Anchor. I watched it with my wife. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all on I Watched It With My Wife as well.
And I have a question. What do you guys think of the documentary series where we delve into that, or do you think we should just stick to movies that are lighthearted and not so controversial? Or do you guys like the controversy? Do you think Jeremy should sleep on the couch tonight? No. I'm just kidding.
But anyway, I want to check out that Netflix This Is a Robbery about the art heist in Boston.
Oh, that sounds fun. I love crime. I love documentaries. Let me rephrase that. I don't like committing crime, and I don't think people should commit crime. I do think that watching a television show, movie, or documentary on a crime is always entertaining, but please don't commit crimes. And I'm not committing crimes either. Just don't do it. Is this getting edited out?
I don't know. It depends on how much I laugh while editing. But all right, that'll wrap up this episode. I already told you where you can reach us on Anchor and on our social media pages. Our website, withmywifepod.com. Sarah's probably going to be posting recipes there. Check us out. We'll have our movie editions. We'll have our documentary editions. Check us out. We have I Listen with My Wife, Caregiver Chronicles, and Racing with Remy. We will see you next week for another I Watched It With My Wife.
Goodbye.